This is Coffee Chat, Redefining the Empty Nest. Here are your hosts, Lisa Mcgrath and Renee Lowry.
Well, hello. Welcome to Coffee Chat, Redefining the Empty Nest. I'm Lisa Mcgrath with my co-host, Renee Lowry. And I'm excited today because we're going to do something a little different. Well, sometimes Renee and I have a guest and we get to have coffee chat and chat with a guest. And then other times Renee and I chat with one another. But today we're going to do something a little bit differently. I want to interview you, Renee, because here we put coffee chat together, and the idea was to help people that were going to be going into this new chapter of their lives having an empty nest, or for those that have already experienced an empty nest. And we thought you had a couple years to go. And with the luck of the draw, your daughter and her special, what do you call it, the school situation, and being able to go to the school of her choice, even though it is in a different state, it has given you an empty nest. And so each time we come on and we're waiting for a guest to come in, we chat. And you've said some things today that I really think are important for everyone to hear. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to ask you to pretend you're a guest and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and your family.
Absolutely. I'm thrilled to be here. And my family, I have been married for 21 years, and we knew each other and dated for 7 years before that. I've had we grew up together. We met in high school. So it has been it's just him and me for ever and ever and ever. Um, we had children kind of young, but we were in our 20s. Um, and they were 2.5 years apart. So we have currently one that is a sophomore in college this year, and we have one that is technically it's her junior year of high school, but she had an opportunity to go to a school, like you said, far away. She's halfway across the United States from me. And she's doing 2 years, her last 2 years in one. So she's trying to graduate by the end of the year. So she's busy and she's far away. And my husband and I suddenly and unexpectedly rather have this empty nest. And that's a little bit about my family. That's where we're at right now.
Well, I love that she was able to take advantage of the opportunities. But I do understand when you think your child is leaving in 2 years and then all of a sudden you have this surprise, that can turn things upside down. Because I know that with an empty nest, you have to not only go back and establish a relationship with yourself and who you are, because those littles are no longer in your house, but you have a husband. So now you have a relationship to go back to with that too. What's happening in regards to just having the two of you in the quiet?
Well, yeah. We both work a lot, so it stays pretty busy still. But this has shocked me going through this, and I've helped a lot of people through this transition, but experiencing it yourself is very different. Um, I have, um, like I said, I have a very strong, long history with my husband. We have a very happy marriage. I can't complain, but it has shocked me to see how much different it is. Um, it's almost as though we really need to get to know each other again. Um, there you can tell there's something missing, and you're not sure quite what it is. And it's almost like we have to be very intentional in spending time together, very intentional in how we relate to each other and talk to each other. I mean, I think for the problem came maybe because for years and years it was kids, bills, and then just relax,
Yeah.
but now it's life is a little different. Life is a little different of a pace, and so we have to actually fill those conversations with other things. And we're like, who are you? What? I don't remember. He has his work friends. I have my work friends. This is my work life. He has his work life. And it's different than any time in our history before. And so it's really surprised me.
So, and here's the thing, you use the word shocking and surprise. You're a relationship coach. So you've been helping other people in their relationships, and to be experiencing these same things, it gives you a new perspective, I think, at least that from my point of view. So let me ask you, are you dating your husband?
I am trying to. Absolutely. That is the right answer there. Yes. Um, I was really surprised that I would need to. I mean, going into this empty nest thing, I was like, this is going to be a breeze. I'm not going to have any of these issues because I have wanted my kids to be off on their own and independent for a long time, and I'm perfectly okay with them living at the corners of the earth. So I think right now, or did then, and I'm perfectly fine just living with my husband, and we're going to have so much fun after they're gone. That was where my head was going into this. And then for it
Happen.
to actually happen, I realized I was a lot more nostalgic than I thought I was. There are times that I go a whole day without talking to my kids, and I'm like, there's something that I feel.
Yeah.
I never would have guessed that was going to come.
Yeah.
Um, and I think with my husband was the biggest surprises. It was just like we have to meet each other all over again. And yes, like you said, it's that being intentional and that dating my husband again, trying to reignite what was there, what still is there. We aren't in a bad place, but and it could be because I'm a relationship coach and I see these all things all the time, but I notice it. I notice that there's something different. And so it's important to step up my game and
Right.
do some different things.
And it's an opportunity for things to only get much more richer in their relationship, and for you to continue to grow. And it's not just your next chapter. We have to consider that it's the both of you. And I think sometimes, even interviewing our guests and thinking of it, we think of the person that's on the screen with us and we're chatting with. And sometimes I forget that there's a husband involved or a partner. And they're just as much involved in this empty nest syndrome as the person we're talking to. And so this has kind of been a great lesson for me as someone that wants to help others come to this realization that they have another chapter of their lives. And in your case, it's with your husband. So let me ask you, is there anything that you wish you had done differently, not knowing that your daughter was leaving to go away to school? Is there anything you would have done differently in hindsight?
That's an excellent question and one I hadn't considered at all. Um, I don't think so. I, it's always been very important to me to raise independent children, almost to a fault. Independent children, they were ready to run out the door way too early. So it caused some friction in our house when they were here, just because they were good to go, and I was also pretty good for them to go a lot of points in time, but they just weren't ready yet. No, they are too young still. They are still, it's teenage years. So they have this immature side and they have this side that's, I can handle myself. I've got my stuff together. I'm going to do great things with my life, right? But it's still an off-kilter balance between the two when you're a teenager. So, yeah, sure, it looks good on paper. You're ready to go, but it's not time yet.
Yeah.
Um, but they were always working towards that goal. That was always been a major focal point in our household. I don't really think I would have done anything differently, except maybe I would have related differently to my husband while they were still home. We did go on dates and things, but it was a lot of the business dates, the talking about kids dates. We used those opportunities away from the kids, away from the house to take care of business a lot of times.
Yeah.
That's just our life. That's how our life was flowing at the time. But now it's like this new adventure of getting to know him on a more personal level and exploring what's next for us. We also had a really clear picture of how we wanted to spend our retirement, how we wanted to live our lives when we left, when the kids left. But being in the middle of it, it's it's like, okay, but how do we actually get to that goal? Because we didn't exactly prepare for making that happen,
And 2 years
maybe
early.
like we should have. Yeah, and then 2 years early, right? It's still so like what do we do in the meantime? How do we live a day-to-day life? It's been interesting restructuring all of this and watching it all unfold. But it has really surprised me um, going through this. And like I said, I even get nostalgic. And if I get nostalgic, I can only imagine how someone who is really a nostalgic person and really, loves their kids and wants to be around them all the time. Like you talk about yours.
Yeah.
you know, I wasn't so much that puppy dog mom when when I had little ones at home, but I can only imagine how someone that is like that and reacted to their kids in that way, it just breaks their heart
Mhm.
when their kids are gone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it is an eye-opening perspective.
what about traditions? Have you thought about like the holidays and things like that? Will that be any different for you?
Not for this foreseeable future, probably. Um, my kids, as independent as they are, they're still fairly financially dependent and they're pretty spoiled. So they like to come home and so mom and dad can pay for things instead of them. But yeah, I hope that changes soon. We're working on changing that culture. But um, but yeah, they will still come home every Christmas and every holiday. Neither one of them have been big on dating yet, so for the few as far out as I can see, we are the only family they're going to have for a while.
Oh.
So I still think we're okay for a little while.
Hmm.
Past that, I don't know, but
And
yeah,
so then this brings up the next thing. You're living in New York City, right? So it's pretty busy.
yes.
And I'm sure having a family, you're set on like different routines and how you live your life in the city. Is it changed at all? I mean, does the city feel differently to you? Is it where you want to stay? Or do you have hopes of maybe going off and finding a new place to call home?
I love New York City. I don't ever want to leave New York City. Um, I am kind of looking forward to maybe having a little more space and not having, flights of stairs to go up and down so often every day. But I don't know if I really want to leave the city. That's the question my husband and I have been struggling with probably for the last 3 years. Like, is it time? Do we want to leave? No, we don't. Our hearts are in New York City, but our we would like to just get out of the city for a little bit and see what life's like somewhere else. It is a different beast here. It's a different pace of life. And to answer your question more specifically, no, I haven't really noticed a difference as far as the city itself goes since my kids have been gone. Um, but I think that might be more related to COVID-19
Hmm.
than it is to my kids because I don't get out as much as I used to. I don't get to enjoy the city as much as I used to. A lot of things have been closed here in New York City for a long time. Some of them have huge restrictions on the number of people allowed in, things like that. Those are starting to ease up a little bit as time goes on, but it's been very different here. I had friends across the country call me, "Hey, I'm thinking of visiting New York." I was like, "Not now. No,
Not now.
this is not the time."
So have
Yeah,
you,
but hopefully that changes soon.
yeah, have you ever thought about being a snowbird? You know how some people live in the city or up north in the cold, and then in the summer, in the wintertime, they go down to Florida, let's say, or Arizona. Is that ever a possibility?
Um, I don't know. I love the idea of traveling. I absolutely love that idea. The only, I hope my husband and I will be able to work for a long time still. And I hope that it'll just be us traveling where work takes us, because he works in giant cities with giant events. And so um, I would like to see us travel to places, not necessarily based on the weather per se, but just wherever life takes us, wherever the job is, we go. And my job is fairly portable, so I can do it from a lot of different places. And it'd be fun to travel with him and see all the great places he gets to go.
Yeah, just think of all the discovery, not only the discovery of the new places, but the discovery of each other in those new places,
Right.
really making those new memories. I'm all about the memories and creating a legacy of memories so that you can go back to and share them with your family. And what better way than traveling and with your best friend and your companion to be able to see the world? So that I think that's a great goal to have. Um, is there anything else that have maybe surprised you? Anything that surprised you about yourself? You said that you've been nostalgic, which isn't something that you normally would find yourself. But is there anything else?
It has surprised me a little bit how much I look forward to my kids calling. When they were here and I'd see their name on the phone 16 times a day, like, oh, again, So now when they call, sometimes we talk for hours and hours, like my daughter texted me earlier today, my college one, and said, Mom, I'm bored. Can we talk? Sure. So we talked for like an hour. And that never would have happened before. And I never would have looked forward to it quite in the same way. And it's all happened fairly fast. I mean, it's only been a couple of months since my younger one went off to
Mhm.
school. So this is like me going through this right now in the moment.
Oh
Like
man,
this is all my feelings laid bare here.
and that's why
And
we
it
wanted.
has,
Yeah, that's why I wanted to do this interview because it's raw. It's raw. You're going
yeah.
through it right now, and it's the way you described it before is the ups and downs, and that it is an emotional time. And the other thing that I just love is that you're going to be able to, when you're working with a client that's going through this, you're going to have that perspective that you didn't have before. So your education and your experience led you down a certain path in a way, but now having that personal experience and knowing what it feels like, that band-aid ripping off, you're right there and have it. I think that brings you to another level of empathy and understanding.
I agree. I mean, emotions are my wheelhouse, anyways. I love everything about emotions. The uncomfortable ones are there to shape us and make us better versions of ourselves and guide our lives into these new chapters. You have to go through those uncomfortable feelings sometimes to get to better. It's that gateway to change. It's that gateway to something different, and what you make of what you go through that gate is really what matters, right? So in that sense, I didn't need to go through the transition to understand and to empathize that, yeah, these are strenuous moments. These are stressful moments where there's a lot of deep emotion and that people experience them at different levels. Mine, I'd say, is still very mild, and I can respect far more, like you said, someone who's are much stronger than mine. Um, and that might change over time for me, even. I don't know. But I'm looking forward to
Yeah,
finding all of that out.
it's a learning
But
process.
yeah, it is. And I think that's the trick is you have to respect the process that it is. Instead of judging yourself for going through this process, just knowing it's a process and you're going to get out on the other side and it's going to be okay. It helps. It takes some of the pressure off. You're not doing anything wrong. Nothing is wrong. Just notice it
Just
and
know.
get on, think about the next steps.
Yeah, I know that even in my practice, I often say you need to be self aware and you need to be an
Yeah.
observant, a witness to your own life, and that really does help when you're self aware and mindful of the relationships and what's going on around you. So it's a special time, but I also know that you have so much to look forward to, and all of the time and the discoveries you and your husband will make are going to just enrich your life and make it so much more that you're actually going to offer your daughters even more. And you're setting an example by being a role model and modeling the lifestyle and the behaviors that someday, I know it might be hard to believe, your own children, your daughters will be going through it. And so they're going to look back and remember how you handled yourself. So it's important.
It is. It is. Yep. I agree. Thank you. That's a great perspective to keep. I like
Yeah.
that.
And they're lucky. Your girls are very, very lucky. I don't know them, but I know you, and I know that I would call you too if you were my mom. I would want to make. I'm glad they're calling you, and the name comes across the phone. Mom, are you busy? Can we talk from board? Yeah, let's talk. Let's see what's going on. And I think when we start asking each other questions, and we show interest in each other's lives, that's when that communication can really happen, and it can change. It can grow. And with you already being a relationship coach, you're seeing it, you're doing it. And so not only, like I said earlier, the education and all of the work experience that you've had, now you have life experience too to add
Yeah.
to it, which makes your practice even more valuable to anyone that is, chooses to work with you. And that's another thing. If you're interested in learning more about Renee and what she does, we're open, we're available. We love to talk about what we do because it does fuel our passions. And now that Renee has an empty nest, she has more room on her calendar. So you can go ahead and reach out to her. I'm sure you'll be able to talk and really start figuring out what's that relationship going to be. Not only the relationship with yourself, but like you said, the relationship with your husband, the relationship with your children, and the
Yeah.
relationship that you want to carry on and to really write the next chapter. I mean, you're responsible for
Yeah.
that. So,
I
so
like what some people say, if you don't design it, it'll be designed for you.
for you, that's right.
So it's that being intentional in designing what that looks like for you, where you want that to go, and working towards those goals. And for your husband or your partner, it's a mutual goal. It's a shared goal. And if you both want to get there, then how do we get there? What do we do? Which steps do we take? What needs to happen, right? It's answering these questions. And
Together.
that builds that intimacy too when
Yep,
you are answering all of these questions together.
that's right.
Yeah.
And now you know you're on the same page, and that you remember when well, mine did this. I'm assuming your girls did this. And then when they would ask you a question, and if the answer was no, then they would go to him and ask him, just hoping for the yes answer. And so it was real important to always say, no, we need to be on the same page. And so now you're on the same page when you discuss these relationship things and how do we want to handle it and how we're going to answer these questions. And you're talking and you're doing it together. It, it makes you stronger, it gives you a stronger foundation.
That's the whole key right there is I have come to very much value these struggles in life and these learning moments and these transitions. I value them for the outcome they're going to bring me because you're right. Life has taught me, if anything, that going through these things makes you stronger. It If you don't have all the answers going into it, don't worry so much. You'll get them before you come out the other side. And that's why these things are happening right now, so
Yeah.
that you can get those answers that you're looking for. A lot of times, that's what it is. They're valuable learning lessons for you for life. That's why I like to say emotions are our guides. When you have the really tough ones, they're guiding you in a healthier direction for where you should, where you want to be instead.
And you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to do it
That's
alone.
true.
And that's the whole thing. And some people are afraid to ask for help. And it's really important that they do ask for help, that they come out of their shell. And if they don't have a partner to talk to, they have a support system, friends, but find help. Go find a coach, find a therapist, find someone that you can sit with and just talk it out and answer those questions. It's important.
It is. Or come on coffee chat. We would love to talk to you
Yeah,
too.
absolutely.
We're going through the same thing. I got this.
Yeah.
We can share these thoughts together.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
before we close out today's coffee chat, I'm just wondering. So, what's something that you would recommend someone do that still has the teenager at home and her husband or wife, they're still together and they're at home? What would be something you'd recommend?
I would. recommend two things. Number one would be, remember that everything's about to change, and love on your family members like you never have before. What I mean by that is, your children, they're teenagers. They're gonna come home. They're gonna be in trouble. They're gonna get bad grades. They're gonna sleep in and be late for school. They're gonna do all of these terrible things. They're gonna happen. Boyfriends staying out late, whatever. They're gonna get in trouble. But during those troubled moments, remember, this is short term. The most important aspect is your relationship with that child. And if you can keep that perspective while disciplining them and understand for yourself that yes, this moment is ridiculously frustrating. This child has a horrible pattern, but that's what it is, right? It's still your child who you love. So remembering that as a first and foremost, that you love this child, and this is a bad thing that they did. It's a good child. It's going to grow up to be an adult one day, and this isn't going to be a problem anymore. But they did a bad thing, right? So keeping that perspective is crucial. The same thing with your husband, which is probably the part I neglected more. If perhaps I had, like I said, we went on dates, we did things like that, but it wasn't as intimacy building as it could have been possibly. The fun flirtiness after 20 years of marriage it goes away a little bit, right? And so we're still best friends. We still work well together. We're still all these things, but when the kids are gone, there's something you notice that's not there. It's that fire that used to be, and it's not that it's gone, but it looks different, right? So start early, remembering those sorts of things. Start reminding yourself and your husband or your partner what it is that you remember from when that spark was wild and crazy. That might be my first
So
part
love
of your
on
answer
them.
there.
Love on them.
Love on them like crazy, right? And the second part would be to give yourself a break, because this is a transition. And like every transition in life, if you don't accept it for the chaos that it is, you're going to punish yourself for it being chaotic. You're going to punish yourself because you think you shouldn't feel this way, or you shouldn't be doing this, or you shouldn't be doing that. But the truth is you are, and it's okay. That's actually part of the process. This is what you're supposed to be doing. So instead of beating yourself up for not being perfect, not surviving this easily, accept it and give yourself a break. Start where you're at. Okay, I had a really bad day today. What can I do to make tomorrow just a little bit better? Right? It's starting where you're at, acknowledging that it's okay that you are here. There's nothing wrong with being where you're at. This is where life prepared you to come. And if you're missing your children, great, right? Because the truth is, you don't want the alternative. The alternative is that you don't miss your children. And that doesn't sound like a fun alternative either, right? So respecting the idea that I'm supposed to miss my kids, take some of the pressure off. It's just like, yes, okay. It's temporary. We're going to get through this. We're going to be okay when we come out the other side. That's what I would say.
So really what I'm hearing from you is not only love everybody, love everyone, but love yourself too. Show yourself some grace, love on yourself. And your children, they haven't really have divorced you. They've just moved on to really into the next stage of their lives. So guess what? Pick up the phone and call them. Write them out a note. Send them a letter. Send them a card. Send them a care package. They're still in your life. And you know what? You can still love on them. I like that advice. Love on them all you can. Well, thanks a lot, Renee.
Yeah.
Again, this is Coffee Chat Redefining the Empty Nest. The empty nest can have so many different points of view, and that's what we're here to do, is to share what's going on, how to handle it, what you've done, and what you've learned. And we'd love you to come on and share your experience with an empty nest. Are you preparing? Or maybe your kids are grown and flown. Come on and be a guest on Coffee Chat. Don't forget, like and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, I'm Lisa Mcgrath with Renee Lowry. This is Coffee Chat, Redefining the Empty Nest.
If you'd like to be a guest on Coffee Chat, follow the link, be a speaker, and apply. Subscribe and like our videos. You can follow Redefining the Empty Nest on YouTube or join the Facebook group.